And hello again, everyone. Welcome to 7 Days to Sunday, where we recap the Bills' latest effort. Not a good one against the New England Patriots. And look ahead to Monday night when they take on the Falcons down in Atlanta. I'm Zig Fracassi, a Western New York native. And hear me on Sirius XM NFL Radio, Channel 88. My sports updates on the platform of channels as well. And pleased to be joined tonight, as I normally am, by Tulsa Hall of Famer, former Bills standout offensive line, and breaking news, a fellow Cancer that I just found out. My guy, Jerry O. What's going on tonight, Jerry Ostroski?
Not much, Zig. I'm happy to be here. Obviously, Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. We're excited to talk about, well, I guess not super excited to talk about the last game, but obviously excited to talk about this Monday night game. Buffalo Bills favored by 4.5 points through FanDuel. And looking to not only break down last week's game and talk about some of the things I want to get into with it, but also talk about this Falcons game coming up on Monday night.
Yeah, absolutely. And Atlanta's got a proficient ground game, of course, with Bijan Robinson, Michael Penix Jr. starting to emerge as a second-year quarterback. So we'll get into that. But, I think both you and I realize this could be a tricky game for them on Sunday night. And sure enough, New England, I thought Mike Vrabel, who's never used to losing to the Bills, thought coached a superb road game. I thought Drake May executed their game plan very well. Stephon Diggs came back to haunt the Bills with the 10 catches. They made big plays, Jerry O, defensively, and the turnover battle. 3-1, New England gets 10 points off those turnovers. Hence, that's the difference of the ball game, my friend.
Exactly. You've got to protect the football in tight football games, and the Bills did not do that on Sunday night. And, I think Vrabel did coach a really good game. It's funny watching him on the sidelines with this team. You could see him. There's so much youth over there on the Patriots sideline that there was never any, hellfire and brimstone type stuff that was going on or coming out of Vrabel's mouth. He was very, very, enthusiastic. He was very positive, trying to keep these young guys up. And I think that's it's a great observation by him that he's able to recognize the type of team he has. He did just that. And, I think the thing about the Diggs situation, it could have been anybody. And I don't know if it was, as far as when I say anybody on the other team. Obviously, Diggs, a superior wide receiver. I was surprised. I mean, I didn't know he had quite that much juice left in the tank, but he did. Coming off that ACL injury, had been beat up a couple of years after leaving Buffalo, but did a tremendous job. And really, most of his routes were not just clean wins. It was a lot of scramble drill stuff. I thought Drake May was absolutely phenomenal.
Yes.
I think this was, as far as his career goes and his path, man, what a victory to get Sunday night in Buffalo against a guy that I would imagine if you gave, Drake May the truth serum, Zig, Josh Allen's probably one of his idols.
Yes.
A guy that he looks up to, plays very similar to.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of issues. I thought that defensively, while the front seven played, I think, pretty well, obviously the back end issues reared their ugly head. Then you had some of the issues on offense, and we'll get into that, as we roll along on the show.
Well, and also, too, again, the flags became a problem. Now, ultimately, it almost evened out. I think for the game, it wound up 11-8. Buffalo had more penalties, but when it really counted, 7 or 8 penalties to 1 or 2 throughout a good stretch of that game, Buffalo was just killing themselves with mistakes, Jerry.
Zig, you talk to a lot of coaches on your show on Sirius XM, a lot of former coaches, a lot of present coaches, and there's this phenomenon in the league of some officials just feel the need to inject themselves into the game.
Gosh, yeah.
And this weekend was one of those instances. Sean Hockley, I think our record against him is not very good. It's like 3-7 or something like that. I know I'm not exactly on the number, but it's something along those lines to where, hockeyly officiated games don't usually go well for Buffalo. And right off the bat, we had a penalty on the first play of the game.
Yep.
There was a stretch there, I think, on 4 offensive plays. We had 4 penalties in a row. I don't know where that comes from. Honestly, I don't get it. Why an official feels he needs to be a part of the game. You would think that an official would try to do the most he can, call the, egregious type of penalties, but stay out of the game flow. Just really choppy. Buffalo never had an opportunity to get into a flow offensively because of it. And it was a huge factor. And it was a huge factor all the way down to the last drive when they kicked the field goal. If you're going to call these other penalties that you called during the game, that early contact on Shakir on that attempted third down conversion by the Bills very well could have been a penalty as well. So I don't like to use officials as an excuse on why you won and lost, but they definitely did have a factor in this game on Sunday night.
Oh, yeah, and you just look around, the league, the game on Monday night with Kansas City and Jacksonville. I thought, again, my favorite line, it's the UN because there's so many flags. I mean, it just gets to be, a little bit problematic. I mean, a guy who was notorious for that is no longer officiating is Jerome Boger, although a guy like Land Clark could be his replacement, if you will. But I digress on that. But again, this was a game, and sometimes, Jerry, you tell me as a player, maybe things going along a little too well. And granted, the stat was the Bills beat teams to compile that 4-0 record. What were they, like 3-17? So now this is like your first sort of litmus test. They didn't pass it. They'll play them again later in Foxborough. Right. Maybe this is how would you call it, the proverbial wake-up call, maybe, even though they were 4-0.
I just think the game was really wonky from the start. I think the Bills' offense was wrapped up in this whiteout thing and the uniforms, and they just came out really, really hyped as far as this game goes.
They had the yips, it looked like, right?
And then you throw the officials into it. And, Zig, it just didn't flow well for them. But I will say this, they lose by 3, and they gave up 6 points at least on turnovers.
Yep. Absolutely.
I mean, you can't turn the football over. And, Sean McDermott preaches complementary football, and part of complementary football and that concept is never putting your defense in a rough spot, protecting the football, all those things, and all the stuff that goes along with the term complementary football were not reached by that offense, and just really uncharacteristic sloppy play out of the Bills. And it's funny, you get a team, and even with everything going on, the Bills still were in really, really good shape to win that game, but you had a quarterback in Drake May that was on a heater.
Yeah.
And nothing he could do or nothing he did was wrong. I mean, he made some amazing throws with guys hanging on him and all that stuff that we see out of 17, right?
Exactly.
And it just happened that way, and they lose the game. And hopefully, it's funny because, you and I have talked about it on the show, talked about it on other shows. We kind of circled this Monday night game as the iffy game of the first 6.
Mm-hmm.
Now with them getting beat by New England, I think this team has probably a different viewpoint or aspect of this game on Monday night. I'd expect them to come out and play very, very well.
Jerry, you're a student of the All 22, which of course is, you can get that at NFL.com, NFL Plus, where you can look at the game from basically, Mars, but we joke about that. But then again, this is where, you look at how plays developed or maybe didn't work out that way. What did the All 22 tell you this week?
I think offensively they pressed on some things. I think that New England came into this game with a game plan that we're not going to let James Cook kill us.
Right.
They almost played sometimes it looked like a 5-man front. Sometimes it looked like a 4-4. They definitely
were daring Josh to beat him, right?
Right. They had the box covered up. And then you look at New England and the guys they have playing corner. I think Gonzalez is the one. I can't remember the other one, but these are world-class corners that New England has.
Carlton Davis, I think, is the other one.
Carlton Davis. They have world-class corners.
Yep.
So on a team that has issues getting open downfield to begin with, I never expected this team to be able to just sustain constant downfield win rate by receivers. They're going to have to come and do some other things. taking the run away, and then also with New England's probably thought process of taking the outside receivers away, there was a lot of room in the middle of the field. And I think you saw that early on with Dalton Kincaid and the amount of catches he had, and Shakir on some of the shallow routes that he ran and the deep crosses and things like that. But for whatever reason there was, Joe Brady kind of went away from that. Now, the other thing that I think he did, even with them packing the box, I think they could have done some things and maybe tweaked a couple of blocking assignments, and they went away from the run a little bit too soon, I think, because we know that this Bills team kind of sets things up by the run. And I think maybe they went away from the run a little bit too soon. But seriously, this was that game. I don't want to use the term everybody eats, but we also like to use the term in Buffalo, take what they give you.
Yes.
And I think that New England gave us a lot of stuff in the middle of the field that we did not go to as the game went along, maybe panicked a little bit, tried to, force plays to get points. You saw the interception by Josh Allen thrown into double coverage. Prime example of that, Zig. But I think that Joe Brady possibly got a little impatient, and they went away from that take what they give you type of offense that they've been running so well for the last 2 years since Brady's taken over.
I guess, though, that's a fine line, isn't it, though? Because you see that the run maybe wasn't efficient like it should have been. But then tell me, as an offensive lineman, how do you get that run to be efficient? Would you get him more the ball out of the backfield, maybe to loosen up the defense?
Well, what's funny is that I think there was plays for the running backs to make in the passing game, and we really didn't go to that very often. I think that was part of that middle of the field open stuff to where we could have hit some backs out of the backfield, whether it be the flat, whether it be across the middle, those types of things. But I think sometimes we get spoiled as far as the running game goes, and we feel like if the run is not 10 or more yards, then we're not successful.
Right.
And honestly, this was one of those games where, and you look at the stats, the Bills led the way in basically every stat except for turnovers and penalties. They had more penalties, they had more turnovers. Now, I guess you could say they did lead in those areas, but those are areas you don't want to lead in. So you looked at it, but I think that a first down run of 3 yards or 4 yards, a second down run of 2 to 4 yards, now all of a sudden what? You're sitting at 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, whatever it may be. That's a lot easier to convert than a 3rd and 10, a 3rd and 12, a 3rd and 8. So I think we get spoiled sometimes. We think that, well, if James Cook's not ripping off 10, 15, 20-yard runs, the running game's not successful. You heard it said many times, Zig, after this game, and many people that were analyzing the game and breaking it down said, well, James Cook's longest run was 9 yards.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I've seen Saquon Barkley run the ball 25, 30 times in a game where 95% of his runs were 2 and 3 yards. And then all of a sudden he rips one off for 40.
Right.
So I think maybe we got away from the running game a little bit. We lost that whole take what they give you thing, tried to force some stuff, and it ended up bad for us.
Continuing on with 7 days to Sunday, Jerry Ostroski, Zig Fracassi, sponsored by FanDuel. Receivers, fair to say New England had the star, Buffalo had the group. How did this influence the game?
Well, I think that you just have to look at how we're playing coverage in the secondary right now, and there's kind of 2 areas that are lapsed. One being we're extremely old at one corner, and Trey White, we all love Trey White. We love what he's done for this organization. He was Brandon Beane's first-round pick.
Yes.
But he's lost 2 steps, not just one. Yep. So he plays with a lot of coverage. Yep. Benford himself, who we watch play a lot of really good football, he does have one weakness, and that is carrying routes long into the play. And he had some issues as well. Tie that to the fact where, our safeties and our linebackers who were playing that deep kind of middle zone, you had almost, in Rapp's case, because I actually think Bishop is getting better and better every week. And Bishop kind of is lumped into the safety room and gets a lot of criticism because of it. But I think Bishop is getting better and better. He did have the one missed open field tackle that would have been nice for him to make. He didn't break down, kind of lunged. But all in all, I thought Bishop was fine. But you got Rapp that plays way too deep. and you got a couple of middle linebackers, especially Terrell Bernard, who is known to play that Tampa 2 middle linebacker role in coverage, not getting deep enough. And I mean, you saw a lot of plays, a lot of completions to like the Hunter Henrys of the world that were over the head of the linebackers and in front of the safeties. So somewhere along the line, that mesh has to get better. And then, you realize this was probably a game where Dorian Strong was going to get a lot of reps, Zig. He goes on the IR with the neck injury. And, there's a lot of criticism going around about our secondary, but let's face facts. I mean, the general manager took a first-round pick on a corner who practiced 4 practices, then got hurt. His other corner that he picked that actually in the 6th round was showing great promise, Dorian Strong, who some people felt was a 3rd-round pick. He's out now in the IR.
Right.
These are things you can't foresee, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting. But that front 7, I thought, played pretty darn good in the running game. I mean, they made some big plays. Dorian Walker continues to get better, make splash-type plays. I think Daquan Jones has had a resurgence since moving to the 3 technique as opposed to playing a 1 technique now that they've got Dion Hardy, to play the 1 tech. Since they bumped Daquan to the 3, I think he's had a resurgence. Bosa. I thought that Greg Rousseau showed up in a big way this week. A.J. Epinesa had a good game. Landon Jackson had some meaningful snaps in a game that he hasn't had all year long. So there's, this is a team that held them running the ball, Zig, to low numbers. And you had 2 practice squad guys where your 2 backups at defensive tackle. I thought this group up front did a good job. That secondary, though, has to figure out a way to mesh better and clean up some of the technique issues.
Would this be something that if you're Brandon Beane, you look at the trade market and try to find out what's out there? Because it may not be in-house where your replacement would be.
I think so. I mean, I didn't want to say that earlier in the year because I really believe in Dorian Strong. With Dorian going on the IR,
yep.
And your 2 backup options now in case, like, let's talk about reality here. What if Christian Benford gets hurt? What if Trey gets hurt?
Yeah.
Even Trey playing the way he's playing, if he gets hurt, your 2 next options, your 2 men up are Ingram and Dane Jackson, who's on the practice squad, who has similar issues that Trey White has. So I think it would, behoove them to take a look at the trade market and see who's out there. Now, whatever corner that they do try to go get, they're going to probably have to be a guy that can tackle because we do ask our corners to tackle a lot in the run game. We play a ton of cover 2. But, I think that Brandon Beane probably does need to at least listen and see who's out there. Now, could you get a pretty good piece at cornerback and move? I think probably the guy that has the bullseye on him is the commodity or guy that can play and help another team that you could stand to leave the roster would be A.J. Epinesa, who for us is a depth piece at defensive end. For somebody else might be a starter. So, but I think you do have to look at it.
Yeah, because we even saw a trade on Tuesday in the NFL. The Harbaugh brothers got together. How about that with the Ravens and the Chargers? Gilman, the kid out of Notre Dame, goes to Baltimore, and Owa, who had been a pretty highly thought of young player but just hasn't panned out, he winds up going to Los Angeles. So we already got deals going down here. And then obviously with the Flacco move going from Cleveland to Cincinnati, shows you how desperate they are for a quarterback. So we're seeing trades already, Jerry.
Right, exactly. The Chargers, it's no secret that they need help in the pass rush.
Yes.
And they try to address that with the trade to Baltimore, with Khalil Mack still on the IR and not back yet. Obviously, Cincinnati not happy with Jake Browning. They make the move for Flacco to try to right the ship or at least, be a stopgap until Joe Burrow comes back. Right. So, and I think there are some people out there that really track these rosters and these trade opportunities that feel that this trade market will be kind of but when it's all said and done, you're going to see maybe 10 to 15 players move before the trade deadline, which in the old days you never saw.
No.
But nowadays with what they got going on and how things are working, I think you'll see that. But yeah, I definitely believe that B needs to listen and start looking, because if we could, remember, Zig, they did that with Rasul Douglas.
That's right.
Not too long ago. A couple of years
That's
ago, they get Rasul Douglas on a trade from Green Bay. Bean does have, a tendency to stockpile picks.
Yep.
So he's got a couple of picks, I'm sure, laying around that they could entice somebody to come off of a cornerback to help the roster.
Yeah, whenever you see trades anymore, it's like player X and a 7th-round pick to team Y for either a player and a 6th-round pick. So you start seeing a lot that
Exactly.
more.
Exactly.
You know what, Jerry? I'm getting hungry again.
Well, I got an answer for you, Zig.
You do? Okay.
I do. I have an answer for you. And that is our friends at the Anchor Bar, the home of the original Buffalo Wing. The Anchor Bar in Tulsa. They've got locations now across the country, 16 locations, with 3 new locations opening up this fall in Tucson, Frisco, and Raleigh, North Carolina. If you want the original Buffalo Wing, head to one of those locations. If you're in Buffalo, I tell everybody this. It's like when you go to Philly, Zig, and you got to have a cheesesteak, you got to go to Pat's and Geno's at least once. You go to Pat's and you walk across the street, you hit Geno's, you hit both of them, you get the originals, and you can do that with the Buffalo Wing in Buffalo at the Anchor Bar. And they've got, the thing is this, you usually have big party of people. Some people don't like bone-in wings. That's their problem. They got something wrong with them. But they got boneless wings. They got wraps, salads, burgers, beef on weck. They got all the stuff you can imagine on their menu. And Frank and Teresa Bellissimo in 1935 opened the original Anchor Bar. And it was in 1964 when they invented the chicken wing. Many stories that go along with that. And they're currently serving, this is what's crazy, they're currently serving over 15 million pounds of chicken wings annually.
Damn.
15 million pounds of chicken wings annually. You can get their bottled sauce in over 4,000 supermarkets worldwide. Or if you live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Zig, and they don't have the sauce, you can go online and you can order it online like I do and have Anchor Bar sauce in your pantry for any time that you want to have chicken wings with the original buffalo wing sauce. So the Anchor Bar, they're all over the country, whether it be the restaurants and the franchises or the sauces and all those things. Anchor Bar, the home of the original buffalo wing, and we're proud to say that they are a sponsor of the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network.
I got to ask, though, is like Fina ready to have the key when they open the store out there in Tucson?
Fina's already been in it.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I believe they've opened it.
Oh, they have. Okay.
And John said that they are kind of now the Tucson home of the Bills backers.
Nice.
They're the Bills backers bar. So, when John is in town, because it's hard for John because he's usually doing what I'm doing, which is chasing kids all over the country and watching football games. But when he is in town and doesn't have something going on Sunday, he is at the Anchor Bar having some of the original wings and enjoying the Bills fans.
There you go. By the way, kudos to his son Bruno the other day. Masterful game for Duke to beat Cal like they did an ACC after dark. So we absolutely love that. So
Bruno's playing well, very well.
He sure is. Just like your kids. Owen's doing outstanding, my friend. So
yeah, Owen's a hammer.
There he is.
He's kind of an anomaly, Zig. He's a really highly intelligent defensive lineman. You usually don't see that.
Well, he got the brains from you. So
no, he got the brains from his mother.
Believe
me.
Monday night, it looks like we're actually throwback night because I believe the Falcons are wearing their old schools. And I saw the Bills, they're going to wear the white helmet with the red buffalo, like the 60s looking Bills unis. I'm a traditionalist. I absolutely love that uniform. Hopefully, though, the Bills will be able to stop Bijan Robinson in that Atlanta backfield because this kid's a load.
You know what's crazy about this, Zig? If you look at the numbers of this game coming up and you look at the Falcons offense, okay, their overall rushing efficiency, they're number 16 in the league. You would think that would be higher with Bijan Robinson, but it's not. They're 16 in the league. Overall passing efficiency, they're at number 22. Bills come in on defense and passing efficiency at 11th. Overall rushing efficiency, they're at 21st. So they've actually gained some ground after this last week. But yeah, we all know what the Falcons are about. Whether it's Penix Jr., whether it's whoever it may be playing quarterback, this team, goes when Bijan Robinson goes, and it'll be a big task for this Bills defense, who have had some issues stopping the run, throughout the season, because usually the answer, Zig, to stop the run is you put more guys in the box and you play man behind it. Do we actually have the talent to play man? Probably not on a regular basis. So it'll be a tall task for the Bills to slow this Falcons offense down.
Yeah, and with guys like Bergeron, the former Syracuse kid who's really come on as a left guard, Jake Matthews, my gosh, just another Matthews excelling in the National Football League. That line's very good. Drake London, he's had his ups and downs. Yep. I'll tell you what, they're starting to utilize Pitts a little more in the pass game, which could be problematic.
Definitely. I think that, I watched a lot of Penix Jr. in college. Owen actually played against him in Washington. Tulsa went out there and played against him in Washington.
Okay.
And I was impressed with him then. He had been kind of labeled as an injury-prone quarterback, but he is a tough kid. He's a lefty.
Yes.
Okay, so he is a lefty, but he's averaging 231.2 yards per game, 1.2 touchdowns. Interception rate's not too bad. But, you talked about Pitts, the tight end, and I think that's, it's funny because I watch a lot of football, whether it be college or pros, and it's obvious the evolution of the tight end position has become a huge emphasis in football. You see it in Buffalo, where most of the time offensively they have 3 on the field at one time. Teams are really going to the tight end, and Pitts is no different. 3.2 receptions a game, 41 yards. He's a weapon for him. So as much as these other guys like Drake London and Darnell Mooney can put up numbers for the Falcons, Pitts is very vital as well. So it'll be a tough matchup for this Bills defense.
Well, and they're going against a defense that allows the fewest yards in the National Football League, under 250 per game, 21.5 points per ball game. So, and coming off a bye too, Jerry. So, being at home, maybe a little rust, maybe a good thing or a bad thing. No, it's going to be interesting to see.
I think it's good for the Bills to get out of town. Whenever I played and you suffer kind of a heartbreaking defeat, or a defeat that you don't think you should have lost the game, it's tough to play at home the next week because your fans got a little bit more vile, a little bit more venom. Bills Mafia is not as patient. So when you can get out of town and go play in a hostile environment where when you walk in, 99% of the people in that building are against you,
right?
It's a good thing. And I think the Bills will thrive in that environment. Offensively for Buffalo, they're still the same team they've been. They still have Josh Allen. They get a big advantage in overall rushing efficiency in this game. I mean, you look at the Falcons, they're 23rd defensively in rushing efficiency. Bills are 3rd offensively. Pressure rate, Bills give up the least amount of pressures in the league. They're the number 1 ranked team. Falcons come in 7th, so they got a decent pass rush. They can get after the quarterback, but we know what this Bills offensive line's all about. But seriously, again, I kind of go back to what I just talked about. It's just to me anyway, disappointments like this past Sunday night, it's just good to get away. It's good to get on a plane, go to a hotel, get out of town, get in that type of environment. Not that big of a trip.
And an extra day to rest, too.
Right. They got an extra day to rest. And, Josh needs that. Kincaid needs that.
Yep.
They got beat up a little bit this past game, especially Josh Allen. So the extra day of rest is good. But just, to get on a plane and get out of town, go play on the road is a lot of times good in these situations. And I think that Buffalo will take advantage of it.
As we wind down 7 days to Sunday here, sponsored by FanDuel. Jared, do you let your hair down? And what I mean by that is this is their last game before the bye, and then you got Carolina the following week. In other words, do you just throw everything in the kitchen sink and see what happens?
Zig, I think that we've seen enough now over the course of the season, over the first 5 weeks. You can't take anybody lightly. You can't go into any of these games thinking I'm going to rest my starters in the fourth quarter, or we're not going to do. I mean, even a team like Carolina, as poorly as they played, they could find a way to win. And I always laugh. I always say that the only tweet that I want to see after a Bills game is Joe Brady's tweet. And when they win, he always tweets right after the game, and all it says is 1-0. And that's what I want to. Yeah, and that's what I want to see out of this Buffalo team. To me, when you look at the Bills, they're their own biggest opponent. They didn't get beat by the Patriots this week. They beat themselves. You can look at it any way you want to. You can sit here and beat the table and talk about, there's words on my phone. One thing that's beautiful about Zig, and I don't know if you've learned this yet or not. You can type words, and there's a mute feature in your X account.
Okay.
And you can type words in there that you don't want. If a tweet has that word in it, it won't come up. I added separation to my X mute list this week because I'm about ready to vomit for the amount of times I got to hear about wide receiver separation. You show me any wide out in the league these are the best corners and the best whatever in the league. I mean, you talk about Stephon Diggs. Diggs wasn't getting immense amounts of separation. He ran the scramble drill really well. Right. And he did about, like that one deep out that they completed inside the Bills' 10-yard line that May made just an absolutely tremendous play on. I think Diggs did about 3 loop-de-loops before he finally found the space to get into. So I don't want to hear about separation. I just don't want to. But, yeah, I mean, I look at this game, and I think the Bills are their own worst opponent. I mean, that's who – if the Bills get beat, it's the Bills beating themselves. But when you look at last night, the Chiefs go to 2-3 now.
Yeah.
Look at Baltimore. Look at some of these teams. It's for the – I think, Zig, I saw today, and you might have seen this when you do all the new stuff and everything. I think it's the first time that we've had – it's the first time in 11 years we have not had an undefeated team after week 5 of the NFL season.
Hey, we should pop the cork to the 72 Dolphins then, right?
Please don't. I've got like 3 major I got 3 major trigger things that I deal with.
Okay.
And while he was alive, God rest his soul, Nick Bonacani. How many times I had to see those guys in their teal coats popping champagne, but I get it. Yeah. I get it. But they also didn't play the number of games that they play nowadays. But that's a whole nother arguing point. But yeah, it's hard right now. I mean, this league has a ton of parity in it. There's a lot of good teams, so you can't take anybody for granted.
Real quick, around the East, I know the Jets are already over in London. They'll be playing the Broncos on Sunday. You got the Dolphins welcoming the Chargers. Wow, it's another East Coast trip for L.A. And then New England at New Orleans. Well, you wonder that couldn't be maybe a little bit of a letdown after that big win Sunday night, having to go down there against the one-win Saints.
I think that as good of a coaching job that Vrabel did Sunday night, he's going to have to do a better job this week at keeping this young football team focused playing against the Saints. And, if you break the schedule down, and granted, the Bills have had an easier path the first 5 games. Maybe if they had a little bit, I know they had to come back against Baltimore. Maybe if they had a little bit tougher schedule up to this New England game, they'd have been a little more battle tested and ready to go. I mean, hindsight's 20/20, but New England's schedule sets up really well for them. They don't have a ton of tough opponents this season. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big coaching job for Vrabel to keep these young guys locked in against a Saints team that, they haven't won. But Zig, they've actually played some decent football. And I think that Spencer Rattler has kind of proven his place in the league. I mean, he's played some good football.
Well, they won this past week.
Oh, that's right. They did win. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Come on, Jared.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm CTE, Zig. CTE.
That's
why you're on the show, to keep me in line.
There you go.
So they did win this week. But they're playing good football.
They are.
I mean, they're playing somebody. Even against Buffalo when they lost, they played a good game.
They did.
Kellen Moore's a hell of a head coach. He's got good game plans. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be tough for Vrabel to get these guys up for this game.
There's been 7 days to Sunday, sponsored by FanDuel. Ostroski, your Panthers won on Tuesday night. My Bruins kick it off on Wednesday. You're well, so you're an Avs guy and I think a Flyers guy too. So
Well, here's
welcome
the deal.
hockey back.
I'm a Flyers guy first and foremost.
Okay, all right.
I probably had 4 to 6 license plate covers on my truck ripped off in Buffalo over my time up there.
Is that right?
From Sabres fans not appreciating the fact that I was a Flyers fan. And of course, I just buy another one and put it on. But I got smart, and instead of buying the metal ones, I got the plastic ones that were cheaper.
Right.
But no, full disclosure, I love the Flyers. Always have, all the way back to the days of
You're
Bobby
a Philly
Clark.
guy, of course.
Yeah, Bobby Clark and Perrant and all those guys. But I do like the Panthers, and the main reason why is because I like Tkachuk.
Matthew
I like
Tkachuk.
Matthew Tkachuk.
Yep.
I absolutely adore Matthew Tkachuk. I think he plays hockey the absolute right way.
Absolutely.
And in a league that you don't see many play the way he plays anymore. It's why he's going to be out 2 to 3 months as he gets over his core surgery.
Oof.
But he'll be back. He'll be back at some point. But love watching him play. And then for some reason, I don't mind the Avalanche. I've got a buddy that lives up there, and he's kind of brainwashed me a little bit. I like their style of play. They're kind of a rugged. I yearn for the days of dump and chase. I yearn for the days of dump and chase.
Oh yeah.
And when I find a team like the Panthers that can play dump and chase, hey, I gotta like them.
Yeah, and how about Landeskog? Going to be playing his first regular season game in 3 years. Came back from that major knee surgeries, sidelined him for 3 years. Played in the playoffs this past year. Absolutely tremendous.
But the Panthers will have a tough time without Barkov.
That's right.
Barkov single-handedly kept McDavid in check.
Yes, he did.
So if somewhere along the lines they have to meet up again in the Cup, it'll be Barkov's not coming back this year. I know they say 7 to 9 months. I can't see him coming back, but without Barkov, that'll be a tough task.
How about Jerry O breaking down? We may have to do a podcast on hockey here.
I'm all for it, man. I can drink the pink Whitney as much as anybody.
Well, until next week, for Jerry Ostroski, Zig Fracassi, you've been listening and watching 7 Days to Sunday, sponsored by FanDuel.
Much love, folks. Go Bills. Like, subscribe, and rate the show, man. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Feel the same.